Hey, hello, hello, hello. How is it going? How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Do want to apologize. I did actually mean to be on a little bit earlier, but ran into some difficulties. But I'm glad that you're here. We are more than happy to have you here once again. This is Pastor Wale with Religion and Politics. But just want to make sure that you are all able to hear me. Want to get some technical stuff out the way. And so just put a one in the chat or put a thumbs up if you're able to hear everything clearly. If you're able to hear my voice clearly, just put a one in the chat or a thumbs up to let us know that we are ready to go. And so, once again, we just want to thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest in the house. So, we're going to introduce them in just a moment. But we are just so excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. And so, what we do here on Religion and Politics is a lot of times we are talking about the tough topics that a lot of times I hear people come to me and, they talk about things that they want to ask, right? Whether it's they want to ask their pastor or they have questions, about their church. And a lot of times, their questions get met with resistance, or their questions get met with dismissal. And so this is a platform where we want to make sure that we don't, disregard or dismiss any questions that people may have about God or about their faith. And so we are going to be talking about a very poignant topic tonight. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. And so this is a good friend of mine. One of the great things about this friend is that he has such a forward-thinking mind. His name is Daniel Holder, and he is the founder of the Black Jesus Project. And so we want to bring Daniel Holder in. And so, Daniel, welcome to the show. We thank you so much for joining us. I see the shirt, I see the branding, I love it. And so, can you just tell the people just a little bit about what you do and your the Black Jesus Project, the thing that you started?
Cool. How you doing? Glad to be here. So the Black Jesus Project is basically a community because I believe that Black people have different experiences, and I think that God talks to us through our experience. So I think it's very important to can you hear me good to articulate spirituality through the Black experience, and the Black Jesus Project cultivates a safe Black community for Black experience to be, discussed. You don't want to discuss Black experience everywhere. You might get fired. So yeah, but this
Excellent,
community is
excellent. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
no. I was just saying this community is a safe space.
Excellent. Well, we're just so happy to have you. I hear about, the images of Christ, right? A lot of times people complain that, if he grew up in, that part of the world, why are all the pictures depicting him as European or as, lighter skinned, with straight hair? And some people will even argue in the Bible there's a description of Jesus that does not fit the pictures that we see depicted. And so you talked about the experience, the Black experience. And so why do you think it's important for people who are experiencing the Black experience to see images of Jesus that are more catered to their culture and their experience?
Uh, because imagery is important. The way we imagine things is the way it affects our perception of them. So I wasn't there when Jesus was around, so I don't know his actual color, but I do know that Black people are Black, and Jesus connects with their experience. So the image is more illustrating the holder's color than Jesus' color, because Jesus connects with all of our experiences. Yeah.
Excellent. And
If
so,
that
I mean, I hear a lot like people say representation matters, right? And so, it's important for people not to just see one image of Jesus, because I think one of those things that happens is you keep seeing an image of Christ, right, that doesn't reflect you, right? It doesn't reflect, your experience. How can you really connect with the Creator that has a different experience than you, right? And so I'm actually, and some people might say, does it matter, the image of God? We just want to follow Christ and his character. But I think it does say that if you see only one image, right, it does
Yeah.
have an experience on anyone who that image does not represent. And so I love the
that's
fact that you're pushing the boundaries, right? And you're pushing the status quo. And so, what do you think is the reason that it's necessary in a day in a time like this to have ministries that may be out of the box? Because some people might say you don't have a traditional ministry, right? Just let's talk about the Bible, right? Let's just do, let's stay in the safe zone. But it seems like you're stepping out of that safe zone and you're really trying to help this message connect to people of the Black experience. So why do you think there's a need to push boundaries in ministries to think outside of the box? Why do you think that's a need, especially in a time like today?
I think because like us church statistics, I can't say that word. Our church statistics, that's it. They say 6 of 10 people baptized leave the church. So that tells me that there's a larger demographic of people who believe in God outside the church than there are inside the church. And pastors only ministers people inside the church. So I've just tried to first of all connect with people outside the church, and second of all think of the Bible and Scripture differently in a way that connects to our life today, and most importantly, traditional ministry, organizational ministry thinks about theology in one way,
Mm.
and if you're an employee of that system, you can only speak in that way. I think that these ministries are important because you need to be able to say what God moves you to say, and not be swayed by your employer. I don't like that. I think that things need to be independent. So that's what I'm trying to do.
It's interesting you say that because me as a pastor, right? I do work for an organization, and I do understand that there's some in my field, right, that may feel that they can't say something, even if they may feel it on the inside, because they fear that there may be some repercussion or some consequence to what they say. And so this like your ministry, what you're saying, having some of these outside of the box ministries that are self led, right, are ways for you to express what God has put on your heart without any limitations or any fear of losing your job or et cetera, et cetera. And so, I mean, that's a real fear. I can tell you in my field that is a real fear that sometimes we go through. Is do we say the right thing, or sometimes can we say something that may or may not get us in trouble with those above us? And so one thing that I can say, and I'm not going to say it doesn't affect me at all, but I don't really have a lot of fear when it comes to that, but I do know a lot. There are colleagues, and respectfully so, they have families, they have, things to take care of. And so, they
Yeah,
are a little bit more careful in what they say. And so,
yeah, yeah. I think that all the prophets, all the Old Testament prophets of the Bible, none of them would exist in this climate
mm,
because
mm,
you know, God tells Isaiah to walk around with no clothes on. The church will be like, no,
Right.
put your clothes back on. Go marry a woman in ill repute. Like, no, go marry a nurse. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, I
I,
don't
I
think that.
I love the fact that you brought that up because sometimes it's looked down upon that a personal experience with God matters, right, in the grand scheme of things, right. Maybe sometimes we have to think a certain type of way. We all have to act the same type of way. But like you said, there's stories in the Bible, like you brought up Jose. He goes and he marries a prostitute, right? Because God told him to, right? But to everybody else around, it may have looked like, oh, this is crazy, or this person doesn't know what they're doing, or why wouldn't you marry, like you said, that respectable woman, right? That lived in the town. But that was something that was a personal, experiential thing that the prophet had with God, and he was doing it because God told him to do it. And I think that is something, that sometimes, I think we're scared to do things that the Spirit may be leading us to because it's not accepted by our religious circles or our religious community. And so I think you're right. God may tell you to do something that other people might raise an eyebrow at, but that personal experience and that personal connection is necessary because as long as you're following God, right, and make sure you're following God, because some people may not be following God, but make sure you're following God because he may actually tell you to do something for a purpose, right, that other people can't see. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. As a matter of fact, one of the things I really like about the Black Jesus Project is that you have some dope NFT, some dope artwork, and so I'm just going to share a couple of things. Here goes one of your pieces. Here goes another one of your pieces, and then this is another one that just I really like this because I like all the historical figures that are on this picture. And so, why did you choose to use NFTs as part of your ministries? Like, what's the importance? Some people don't even know what NFTs are. So, can you kind of just give a brief explanation and the reason why you use this as part of your ministry?
Certainly. So, I gravitated first of all to the crypto space because the nature of crypto is like to tear down the walls that of banking. So it's kind of like a revolutionary thing. So I made NFTs because they focus on ownership, and I you know, previous is of Black Jesus, for example, I feel like they were gaslighting because um, the same oppressive organizations that would print the white Jesus would print the Black Jesus. So they would just getting a profit from Black people. So I wanted to make NFTs because one of the goals of the project is to increase the usage of melanated Jesus, and I want the people who own the NFTs to make the money from that use. So, for example, if they when they own NFT, they can make a product, and they get all that money, and we'll advertise that product for them and make sure people buy it.
Awesome,
Does
awesome.
that
And
make
I like Yeah, I like the way that you're just trying to empower the community, right? One of the things that I think about when it comes to church, when it comes
sense?
to the mission, is sometimes I feel like we focus only solely, and let me explain what I'm going to say after I say it, solely on people's salvation, right? That we
Hmm.
forget that people have needs, that they need a quality of life, that they need things here while they're on earth. And so, one of the things that I always say, a lot of churches that may be struggling, a lot of churches that may be losing people, is that if you actually do things that matter to people, that add value to people while they're here on this earth, they will
Hmm.
run to your church, right? But a lot of times we want them to just come to our churches. We just want them to just come and join us without adding any true value to the here and now and the situations that they're going through. And so an example of that would be people are struggling, financially, right? As we talk about, interest rates that are now starting to go up, and we talk about inflation, how am I able to put food on my family's table? How am I able to pay all my bills, right? But if you allow your church to be a center, right, that helps people with jobs, right, or that helps people build their businesses, or that helps people to just do things that will increase their income, right? They'll increase the quality of life, right? People would be running to your church because you're actually pouring into something that affects their day-to-day lives, right? But sometimes we just, we focus just on, let's pray over people without giving them some tools or some of the things that they can use to improve their life now. As a matter of fact, James talks about that in the Bible, like, somebody who comes to you that's without a coat, or that's hungry, we pray over them and tell them to go and be well, right, without actually giving them the tools that they need, that's in our power to do. And so I think, I love what you're doing, is that you're empowering people using something that you're passionate about, so that they're able to find ways to utilize this for their own monetary benefit. So I think that's kudos, that you're thinking outside the box, that you're trying to help the community, but you're also promoting the gospel in your project, the Black Jesus Project.
Yeah, I think that the the gospel character of Jesus develops in us through actions. And like I think that one harm of the church has been to tell people within situations pray it. I think that's lazy and dismissive of problems. Just to tell someone to pray when we should be active, and not just encouraging prayer. We should be like, if someone needs a coat, let's get this man a coat. He doesn't need to pray about it. We need to get this man a coat.
Right,
you know.
right, right.
So yeah, I think that the character of God develops us through our actions.
Excellent, excellent. And so, as you talk about the Black Jesus Project, I can't just help but to think, right? The title of this show was "Does Jesus Care About Black People?" Right? And so, a lot of times I hear, especially in the Black experience, that Christianity is a white man's religion, right? Or that Christianity is something that we as Black people doesn't speak to our experience. As a matter of fact, Christianity has been used to oppress us, right? And so, even I went to there's a museum here in the DC area that's called the Museum of the Bible, and they talk about how Exodus was taken out of the slave Bible, right? Because it was a book about liberation. If anyone doesn't know, that's the book where Moses frees the children of Israel from bondage from the Egyptians, right? And so it's taken out of the Bible, and then verses in the Bible like "slaves obey your master," right, were highlighted in order to keep people subjugated and feeling like it was the will of God that you be a slave and that you be subjective to your master, right? And so a lot of people are turned off by the Bible because it's been weaponized. You even think about the Dark Ages, right? When a lot of people were killed in the name of Christianity, and so a lot of Black people are saying, I don't want anything to do with this. Why? Christianity, that's a white man's religion. So what do you say to that? Is following Christ a white man's thing to do? Or what value does Christianity have, if any, for those who are in the Black experience?
If you read the book of Acts, one of the first people to get the Bible was the Ethiopian. He was reading Isaiah, and you find a lot of Africans with Jewish DNA. But to be fair, I think yes, it is a white man's religion, Christianity, but we had it first, and the Christianity speaks to the Roman appropriation of Judaism. I think that the God is like, yeah. I think calling it Christianity kind of talks to its one direction of the religion. I think that Africans came before this accord moved in that direction. Yeah. So yeah, I think people are right when they say that Christianity was given after slavery, but God was there before slavery. Like if you look at a lot of the African traditions, like a lot of the way the scenes that are described in the Bible, you find part of African tribal ritual. And so yeah, so yes and yes. Christianity, yeah. So Christianity is it, so people that say it is, they they aren't making it up, but God was in Africa before Christianity.
Excellent. Well, I love the way that you kind of put that because Acts tells us, that, actually they used to be just called followers of the way, right? Christ was known as the way and they were followers of the way. As a matter of fact, the term Christian was first used in Antioch, and this is in the book of Acts. And it was more of a derogatory term, right? It was more of a joking term that was applied to people who were followers of the way or followers of Christ. And I also like how you highlighted the Ethiopian, right? How in Acts it shows that it was Philip, the deacon Philip who came and he ministered. He saw the chariot on the side of the road, and he kind of baptized the Ethiopian eunuch. And so
No, it wasn't on the side. It was moving. He had to sprint after.
right, he had to run after it. He had to run after it. And so the great thing about that is, it shows that it was there in Africa way before, any of this other stuff happened. As a matter of fact, a lot of the great, theologians, that a lot of people don't even know that are sometimes depicted in European images were actually from Africa, such as one of the biggest ones, Augustine, right? Augustine is one of the biggest, theologians that a lot of the theology that we've developed in the Christian faith has come from. He was African, right? And so we don't really understand that, but Christianity was, or, we call it Christianity now, but, following Christ was something that was here to our native to our people way before, people came and colonized the continent of Africa. And so, I love the fact that you brought that out. And so, it's just important for people to understand that, Christianity, even though it has been used by people who had bad intentions, it's not something that was bad in and of itself, right? It's not something that there's value there. So, what value do you think people who are of the African diaspora, or people who are of the black race, what value can they find in this thing that we call Christianity?
I think that it's important for them to interact spirituality, the Bible, with their own experience. I think that you are the best way to articulate your experience. I can't articulate your experience for you because you've been through your experience and I haven't. I think that in the Bible, um, the people in the Bible, they perceive God based on their experience. David, for example, yeah, he talks about God's a strong tower and a defense because David was being attacked. So if David wasn't going through that experience, he wouldn't have perceived God in the way that he did. I think that whatever you're going through should depict the way you perceive God, and other people can be blessed by that perception if we share it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, nah, I mean, I think you hit that right on, and so one of the things that I think is very interesting, and I think this is one of the reasons why sometimes people want to throw away culture, right? They think that, oh, there's a heavenly culture, right? That's what we need to ascribe, and the culture here on earth doesn't matter. I would push back on that, right? Because how can we understand God unless it's through the lens that of our worldview, right? And what do I mean? God knows that He's all knowing, He's omniscient, right? He sees the beginning from the end, right? But He knows that we're limited, right? We're limited to our context and our culture. As a matter of fact, throughout the Bible, God visits people in ways that they could understand Him through their culture, right? And so one of the biggest things that I remember I read in the Bible was so powerful to me is when God first called Abraham, right? He made a covenant with him that he would be the father of many nations. And he went through this ritual, right, where he split animals in half, right? And he passed through in between the animals to say, let what happens to these animals happen to me if I don't keep my word, right? And that was a pagan practice of the time that Abraham would understand, right? And so it just shows that God went, and sometimes people, oh, God can't speak like that, or God can't do this. It's like, no, God can do whatever He needs to do to get to you however He needs to, because He can even use pagan practices to make a point, because He understands that that's your context, that's your culture, and that's how you'll be able to experience Him and understand who He is. And so, I think we got to sometimes slow down and not always think that we know how God is going to move or we know what God is doing, but we need to allow God to show Himself to us in the way that we can actually receive, right? And so if we try to box this thing called Christianity into one mainstream, right, culture or one mainstream point of view, then we're missing out on the other cultures, right? And they're not able to connect to that mainstream view that we're projecting. And so I think that's an excellent point. Just want to pause here and tell you all, if you are liking this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell. We have plenty of content. We always are looking for ways to just have conversations about church and religion that a lot of people do not want to have. And so if you have any questions, if you have any comments on this topic about, does Jesus care about Black people, go ahead and put that in the comments section below, and we'll try to answer those questions as much as possible. But Daniel, back to you. I think you're doing a wonderful work. Is there anything that you want to tell the audience about, just about Jesus and the importance of connecting with Him in the Black experience?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the time the way I think about eschatology, the second coming, is very it's kind of close-minded. I think for God to create a world, He wouldn't destroy it, and at the end, I think the purpose of us being here is for us to change the world and not. So I think that a lot of the time, the way we talk about theology, as to look for Jesus coming back in the clouds, is very very lazy. We have to change this world because Jesus is going to come back and make everything new. He's going to take us with us, and we're going to leave this whole world behind. I think it's kind of lazy. I think that it's a lot more realistic for us to not look for Jesus to come in the clouds, but to look for Jesus to come in our characters. And I think it's important that we adopt actions that can change our characters and display who Jesus is through the work that we do. And that's what the Black Jesus Project is about, revealing Jesus in the thing we're doing with our hands.
Yeah, and I can connect to exactly, kind of what you're saying, because I think sometimes we look, it's almost like, as I think about superheroes, right? Like the damsel in distress, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
we kind of take away the responsibility of being Jesus's hands, His feet, His love, right, here on earth while He's here,
Yeah.
right? Because we think that one day He's just going to come and make everything right. And so we neglect the person right next to us. We neglect what's in front of us because,
Yeah.
we can't do anything about it because Jesus is going to come save the day. Not understanding that we are the vehicles, right, that Jesus wants to use in order to help get people connected to him and change the lives of many, right? And so instead of waiting for, Jesus to come down and do everything himself, he actually empowers us, like, to make the changes in our families, in our communities, in our churches, way before that time that he comes. So I definitely connect with that. And so, we just want to open it up to the audience. What do you think is Jesus for Black people? Do you think it's important for us to have images of Jesus that represents different cultures? What do you think? Go ahead and put your questions in the comments below. But before we continue, I just kind of want to shout out your work, Daniel. Where can people find you if they want to, probably get an NFT, or if they want to learn more about the Black Jesus Project? What platforms are you on, and where can they find you to get connected? And all this stuff we'll put in the link in the video after it is published. So, but where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram as Outhouse Ministries. I'm on Twitter as Black Jesus Project, but there's no A in Black and there's no O in the project. And you can go to my website, blackjesusproject.io, blackjesusproject.io, and I understand that a lot of people won't know about NFTs. They don't know how to get one, don't know how to pay for one. And so I've got a Discord community to explain to people, how to interact with the NFTs in a safe way, because people don't trust no one. Everyone wants to steal money. And so I just want to talk to people about how to interact with NFTs in a safe way. And I've made it so this project isn't going to break anyone's bank. It's less than $10 for one of these NFTs. You can spend less than $10 for some stacks or fried chicken. I didn't want to break anyone's bank to make a change. And really, it's just like a banner for spiritual change. And yeah, my thing is when I change the stuff, some people talk about reparations. I think that Black people, we have to take reparations ourselves, and this is one way of us taking our reparations.
All right. Well, no, I thank you for the work that you're doing. We're going to continue to connect. Because I like what you're doing, and I just want to really, highlight, you and your passion, right, for God, and your passion for, just doing what you can to make a difference with those that are around you. And so, I want you all to check it out once again. He said he's on Twitter, he's on Discord, he has a website. Go ahead and check it out for yourself. The Black Jesus Project. See how you can support him in his ministry, because he wants to do the work of God. And so, no need to belabor. Just want to really thank you once again for joining us on Religion and Politics. It's been a pleasure. I'm just so glad that we have people, right, that are actually sensitive to the Black experience, because I know, in my own experience, sometimes, when I go to a church, right, it may seem like, my experience is not taken into consideration, even in the style of worship, right, or even in the way that, we talk about certain things, or maybe even the messages aren't relevant to what I am going through. And so I'm glad that you're taking this opportunity with your ministry to speak to us particular people who historically have been on the margins, who historically haven't been represented or on the forefront, so that they know that Jesus is not only just for one dominant European race, right, but Jesus is also for people of the melanin and people of the darker hues, right? And so We thank you for all that you're doing. And I applaud you. And like I said, I'll support you in any way that I can, brother. But is there any final words that you just kind of want to leave the audience with before we end tonight?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the time in the spiritualization of Jesus, we miss the revolutionary and justice aspects. I think it's important not to miss those and not to miss how Jesus connects with our experience. And yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think. My takeaway is just to take Jesus with you into your life. Yeah.
Awesome. And we might have to highlight how Jesus was a revolutionary, right? On another show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because
yeah.
if you get me started on that, I'll be the rest of the night.
I saw the passion in your eye, but we're going to say that for another show. But yes, I agree with you. Jesus was the revolutionary. He wasn't about the status quo. He pushed the limits, and he did it all for the glory of the Father, right? And so, there's a lot we can learn if we. In fact, I believe that if Jesus was here today, right, if he was physically on earth, that a lot of people would not like him, right? A lot of people would be turned off by him. A lot of people would be upset. A lot of people would call him a heretic, just like they did in his day. And so maybe we
He'd be
got to kind of go ahead.
He'd be disfellowshipped.
He'd be disfellowship, right? And so maybe we got to pull back, right? And really examine ourselves. And I think that's one of the things about the Christian walk is that you got to continually examine yourself, right? Make sure that you're on the right path, because sometimes we think we know, right? And then God comes in and he's like, yeah, you really don't know anything, right? And so we got to have some humility to understand that even though we might have some information, that we can't see the full picture. And so, we got to be open to what God wants to reveal to each and every one of us. And so, thank you again, Daniel Holder, the founder of the Black Jesus Project. We appreciate you once again for coming on the show. And so, we just want to, thank you once again, and just say, please go support this man. Go support the Black Jesus Project. Go ahead and buy an NFT. Once again, he said, he makes it affordable for people, and you can now use that NFT for your own, depiction. So thank you, and we will see you again next week. We have an exciting show. We're going to talk about a topic I had on Facebook that I had mentioned about those who are pastors or spiritual leaders, but are, actually behind the scenes taking advantage of those that follow them. And so we will be back next week. Thank you, and we hope that you have a blessed evening.